Welcome to FSMA Compliance for Feed Mills, a resource for small to medium-sized feed mills in the state of South Carolina to help them comply with the Preventive Controls for Animal Food Rule. This first presentation is to describe what is FSMA and what is the Preventive Controls for Animal Food Rule. To better understand FSMA, or the Food Safety Modernization Act, sometimes it helps to better understand how did we get here. The United States has a long history of legislation impacting livestock and poultry feed safety that dates back to 1906 with the Pure Food and Drug Act. This act was the first time that the U.S. government stipulated that food intended for humans or animals could not be adulterated or misbranded. This set of rules was largely incorporated later on into the 1938 Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Sometimes referred to as the FD&C, this act prevented adulteration and misbranding of food for humans and animals, as well as preventing the adulteration and misbranding of cosmetics and medical devices. Even today, most of our food safety laws trace back to this 1938 Act, with any new additions being amendments to the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. In the 1950s, we saw a food additives amendment that required any food be either generally recognized as safe or be used only if approved through a food additive petition. The 1970s saw legislation relating to the safe addition of medicated feed additives and was accompanied by later rules in the 1990s and 2000s garnering their use through a veterinary feed directive. Bovine spongiform encephalopathy, sometimes referred to as mad cow disease, changed our industry forever. Its resultant rules in 1997 and 2008 led to the prevention of ruminant tissues being used in feed that are intended for other ruminants, and led to prevention measures that were being taken to prevent cross-contamination during transport. In 2002, the Bioterrorism Preparedness and Response Act required animal food manufacturing facilities to register for the first time and have traceability for where their ingredients came from and where their finished product was distributed. In 2007, the Food and Drug Administration Amendments Act required facilities to notify the FDA if they distributed animal food that had a reasonable probability of causing a serious or adverse health consequence or death to humans or animals. Finally, in 2011, we saw the enacting of the Food Safety Modernization Act, or FSMA. When FSMA was first signed into law in January of 2011, Congress stated that the United States needed this act because the current food safety system had an opportunity for improvement. The Food Safety Modernization Act shifted the focus of food safety from responding to contamination to preventing it. When FDA evaluated the change in these rules, it noted that this was the most sweeping reform of food safety laws in more than 70 years. That means that FSMA is the biggest change ever to the 1938 Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. When we consider that there have been previous significant changes, such as the enacting of the medicated feed CGMPs, the ruminant feed ban, and the veterinary feed directives program, it is noteworthy to understand that the Food Safety Modernization Act is the cause of the biggest change ever to how food is manufactured, processed, packed, and held in the United States. The Food Safety Modernization Act has 7 different rules that work together to maintain food safety across the system. The first 4 of these rules impact the animal food industry. The first of these is the Preventive Controls for Animal Food Rule, which is the topic of this set of presentations. There are also requirements for importers of animal food that was manufactured outside the United States to ensure its safety. There are requirements for the sanitary transportation of human and animal food, as well as accredited third-party certification of laboratories that analyze these foods. There are also 3 additional rules that are solely focused on food intended for humans. Again, the purpose of this set of presentations is to describe the obligations and enforcement for the first rule on this list, the Preventive Controls for Animal Food Rule. The Preventive Controls for Animal Food Rule is found in Title 21 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 507. Its full title is Current Good Manufacturing Practice, Hazard Analysis, and Risk-Based Preventive Controls for Food for Animals. This rule has 6 different subparts. Subpart A describes the general provisions such as who has to comply with the rule, who is exempt, and what training is needed. Subpart B describes the current good manufacturing practice requirements, or CGMPs, for facilities that must comply with the rule. Basically, it describes what are the expectations for the construction and operation of the facility for it to be capable of manufacturing safe animal food. Subpart C is the part that has led to the largest change to the animal food industry. It describes how facilities must identify and control hazards to prevent them from occurring in finished product and prevent them from causing animal illness or injury. Subpart D and E may be applicable to certain instances and sectors within the animal food industry, but are less likely to have a direct impact to our South Carolina small and medium-sized feed mills. Finally, Subpart F describes the requirements of records associated with the Preventive Controls for Animal Food Rule. We will describe and highlight each of these parts in the coming videos of this series. If you have additional questions regarding the Food Safety Modernization Act or the Preventive Controls for Animal Food Rule, please reach out to us at the South Carolina Department of Agriculture. Our contact information is listed here.